and many stone sarcophagi. The wooden ones are in human shapes.
Tombs carved into the rock from the Ptolemaic and Roman eras. During their excavations in the Albanasa archaeological site located in Minya Governorate, both the University of Barcelona's Spanish Archaeological Mission and Institute of Ancient Near East successfully discovered various tombs from Ptolemaic and Roman periods, along with multiple mummies specifically belonging to Romans. These types of burials feature holes carved into natural rock beneath ground level, a unique innovation for their time. Additionally, terracotta statues depicting Isis Aphrodite sporting floral wreaths and crowns were unearthed in this area for the first time ever. As such findings continue to surface frequently in these parts over different eras, it appears that there may yet be much more mystery surrounding burial practices waiting to be uncovered here. During the mission's search, a clay seal was uncovered along with fragments of papyrus. Numerous mummies were also discovered that had been adorned in various hues before being entombed. Intriguingly, select funerary masks featured gilded touches and vivid coloring cloaking their subjects' faces. Additionally, 2 individuals possessed gold tongues inserted into their mouths. Apart from denoting an age-old custom prevalent during Banas's time as a Roman settlement likely done to maintain the integrity of those laid to rest for eternity. At this location, the tombs are constructed in a stone well fashion that terminates with an entrance sealed by mud bricks. Beyond lies a vast pit where several empty coffins were discovered, as well as one locked casket harboring mummies camouflaged under vividly colored cardboard coverings. The site also revealed 23 preserved remains positioned outside of their respective cases, along with 4 anthropomorphic-looking receptacles containing 2 interred corpses and miniature containers, holding votive-scented oils within one of them. During the mission, several stone blocks from a demolished building, adorned with drawings of plants, grapes, and various creatures, including pigeons and cobras, were discovered. The team plans to continue their excavation in future seasons in hopes of uncovering additional findings at the site.
Egyptian archaeologists, uncovering for the first time the cemetery of senior officials and priests of the new state in the Al-Ghuraifa area in Tuna al-Jabal in Minya in a press conference organized by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. The ministry announced for the first time the discovery of the cemetery of senior officials and priests of the new state. The cemetery of the senior officials and priests of the new kingdom was uncovered, containing many tombs carved into the rock, containing hundreds of archaeological finds, including amulets, ornaments, and stone and wooden coffins containing mummies, in addition to a group of Ushabti statues made of pottery and wood of some of the senior officials, such as Jahuti Mas, who bears the title the Supervisor of the Bulls of the Temple of Amun, and the Lady Nani, who holds the title of Chanter of Jehuti. This is considered the first time that a New Kingdom cemetery has been found in the 15th region of Upper Egypt, where cemeteries of the Old Kingdom, the First Intermediate Period, and the Middle Kingdom of this region were previously found east of the Nile in the area of Sheikh Said and Deir al-Basha. These are rock tombs belonging to regional governors and senior officials. As for the location of the region's cemetery during the New Kingdom and the late period, it was not known until the Egyptian mission began its excavations this season since last August. Archaeological evidence also indicates that part of this cemetery was reused in later times, as many archaeological finds from the late era were uncovered, such as Ushabti statues of various sizes and manufacturing materials, groups of canopic vessels made of alabaster, limestone, and faience, thousands of amulets, and many stone sarcophagi. The wooden ones are in human shapes, some of which are engraved and colored. Inside are mummies in a good state of preservation and some stone and wooden statues. One of the burials was also found containing an engraved and colored wooden coffin of Mrs. Tade Isa, daughter of Eret Haru, the high priest of Jehuti in Ashmunin. Next to her were two wooden boxes containing her canopic vessels, in addition to a complete set of Ushabti statues and a statue of Ptah Sokar. A cemetery from the Second Dynasty and a number of burials and archaeological finds. A new discovery in the Saqqara archaeological area. The joint Egyptian-Japanese archaeological mission between the Supreme Council of Antiquities and Kanazawa University succeeded in uncovering a rock tomb and a number of architectural elements, burials, and archaeological finds from different historical eras during its current excavation season inside and above the catacombs tombs in the Saqqara archaeological area. This was stated by Dr. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary-General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, explained that the study of the architectural design of the discovered tomb and the dishes and pottery found inside it indicate the historical era of its construction, as it dates back to the era of the Second Dynasty. The burials that were uncovered include the remains of a human burial of a man with a colored mask and another burial of a young child, in addition to a number of burials from the late and Ptolemaic eras that contain a coffin from the 18th dynasty in a poor state of preservation, with an alabaster vessel in good condition inside it. The mission also found many archaeological finds, including two terracotta statues of the goddess Isis with white remains and of the child Harpocrates riding a bird, a mask with green and white remains, parts of two faience amulets for the goddess Isis and the god Bees, and part of a limestone Ushabti on it. Remains of hieroglyphic inscriptions, an amulet from the faience of Ain Ujat, a pottery lamp, and a pottery ostraka bearing hieratic inscriptions, in addition to some pottery tools and pottery shards. The Second Dynasty of Egypt, c. 2890, c. 2686 BC, was the second of the two dynasties that formed the archaic period of ancient Egyptian history. It is known for its last ruler, Khasekhemwy, who unified the country after a period of turmoil and civil war. The Second Dynasty of Egypt followed the First Dynasty, which had established a centralized government and a royal cult under the kings Nama and Aha. The Second Dynasty, however, faced many challenges and uncertainties as the sources for this period are scarce and contradictory. Some of the names and dates of the kings are disputed, and some may even be legendary or fictional. The first king of the Second Dynasty was Hotep-Sekhemwy, whose name means the two powers are at peace. He is thought to have ended a conflict between the last two princes of the First Dynasty, who may have fought for the throne after the death of Kaa. Hotep-Sekhemwy ruled for about 25 years and was succeeded by his son Ranab, or Nibra, whose name means Ra is Lord. Ranab is credited with introducing the worship of the sun god Ra, who would become the supreme deity of the Egyptian pantheon. The third king of the Second Dynasty was Nincha, whose name means divine of body. He ruled for about 40 years and is considered the most important and powerful king of this dynasty. He oversaw the expansion of trade and agriculture and maintained a strong army and navy. He also reformed the administration of the country, dividing it into two regions, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, each with its own governor and bureaucracy. This division, however, may have also created tensions and rivalries between the two regions, leading to a possible civil war or secession. The next few kings of the Second Dynasty are obscure and poorly attested. They include Veneg, Senij, Seth-Peribsen, and Sekhemib Perenmat. Some of these names may be variants or epithets of the same king, or may belong to different factions or regions. The most controversial of these kings is Seth-Peribsen, who broke with the tradition of using the Horus name and instead used the name of the god Seth, who was associated with chaos and violence. This may indicate that he was a rebel or a usurper, or that he favored Lower Egypt over Upper Egypt, as Seth was more popular in the north. The last king of the Second Dynasty was Khâsekhemoui, whose name means the two powers appear. He is regarded as the unifier of Egypt, as he restored the Horus name and combined it with the Seth name, symbolizing the reconciliation of the two regions and the two gods. He also undertook many building projects, such as the fortification of the capital Thinis and the construction of a large tomb at Abydos, where he was buried with his wife Nimarthap. He was the first king to use stone for his monuments, paving the way for the pyramids of the Third Dynasty. The Second Dynasty of Egypt was a time of conflict and unification, as the kings struggled to maintain their authority and legitimacy over a divided and turbulent country. It was also a time of cultural and religious innovation, as the kings introduced new forms of worship and expression, such as the sun cult and the stone architecture. The Second Dynasty laid the foundations for the Old Kingdom, which would witness the peak of Egyptian civilization. The New Kingdom, also referred to as the Egyptian Empire, was the ancient Egyptian nation between the 16th century BC and the 11th century BC. This period of ancient Egyptian history covers the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties. Through radiocarbon dating, the establishment of the New Kingdom has been placed between 1570 BC and 1544 BC. The New Kingdom followed the Second Intermediate Period and was succeeded by the Third Intermediate Period. It was the most prosperous time for the Egyptian people and marked the peak of Egypt's power. The 18th dynasty included some of Egypt's most famous kings, including Ahmose I, Hatshepsut, Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun. Ahmose I was an ancient Egyptian king who reigned from around 1540 to 1514 BC. He is most famous for being the founder of the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. This Egyptian king is credited with the expulsion of the Hyksos, a ruling family of Asiatic origins, from the land of Egypt. Ahmose I was the son of Pharaoh Seqenenre-Tao and brother of the last pharaoh of the 17th dynasty, Kamose. During his reign, Ahmose completed the conquest and expulsion of the Hyksos from the Nile Delta, restored Theban rule over the whole of Egypt, and successfully reasserted Egyptian power in its formerly subject territories of Nubia and Canaan. He then reorganized the administration of the country, reopened quarries, mines, and trade routes, and began massive construction projects of a type that had not been undertaken since the time of the Middle Kingdom. This building program culminated in the construction of the last pyramid built by native Egyptian rulers. Ahmose's reign laid the foundations for the New Kingdom, under which Egyptian power reached its peak. Hatshepsut was an ancient Egyptian queen who ruled Egypt from around 1473 to 1458 BC. She was the daughter of King Thutmose I and married her half-brother Thutmose II when she was around 12 years old. After Thutmose II's death, Hatshepsut became the regent for her stepson, Thutmose III, but soon declared herself pharaoh and ruled Egypt as a king. Hatshepsut was known for her ambitious building projects, including the construction of the Temple of Deir el-Bahri, which is considered one of the most impressive architectural achievements of ancient Egypt. She also sent expeditions to the land of Punt, a region located in present-day Somalia, to trade for exotic goods such as myrrh, frankincense, and ivory. Hatshepsut's reign was marked by peace and prosperity, and she is considered one of the most successful pharaohs in ancient Egyptian history. However, after her death, her successor Thutmose III attempted to erase her legacy and remove all traces of her reign from history. Amenhotep III, also known as Amenhotep the Magnificent or Amenhotep the Great and Hellenized as Amenophis III, was the ninth pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. According to different authors, he ruled Egypt from June 1386 to 1349 BC, or from June 1388 BC to December 1351 BC, 1350 BC, after his father Thutmose IV died. Amenhotep was Thutmose's son by a minor wife, Mutemwiya. His reign was a period of unprecedented prosperity and splendor when Egypt reached the peak of its artistic and international power, and as such is considered one of ancient Egypt's greatest pharaohs. When he died, in the 38th or 39th year of his reign, he was succeeded by his son Amenhotep IV, who later changed his name to Akhenaten. Akhenaten was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh reigning c. 1353, 1336, or 1351, 1334 BC, the 10th ruler of the 18th dynasty. As a pharaoh, Akhenaten is noted for abandoning Egypt's traditional polytheism and introducing Atonism, or worship centered around Aten. This culture shift away from traditional religion was reversed after his death. Akhenaten's monuments were dismantled and hidden, his statues were destroyed, and his name excluded from lists of rulers compiled by later pharaohs. Dozen years later, rulers without clear rights of succession from the 18th dynasty founded a new dynasty. They discredited Akhenaten and his immediate successors and referred to Akhenaten as the enemy, or that criminal, in archival records. Akhenaten was all but lost to history until the late 19th century discovery of Amarna, or Akhetaten, the new capital city he built for the worship of Aten. Furthermore, in 1907, a mummy that could be Akhenaten's was unearthed from the tomb KV 55 in the Valley of the Kings by Edward R. Ayrton. Genetic testing has determined that the man buried in KV 55 was Tutankhamun's father, but its identification as Akhenaten has since been questioned. Tutankhamun 1341 BC, 1323 BC, also known as Tutankhaten, was the antepenultimate pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. His death marked the cessation of the dynasty's royal line. Tutankhamun ascended to the throne around the age of 9 and reigned until his death around the age of 19. The preeminent action of his reign is the countermanding of the religio-political changes enacted by his predecessor Akhenaten during the Amarna period. He restored the traditional polytheistic form of ancient Egyptian religion, undoing the religious shift known as Atonism, and moved the royal court away from Akhenaten's capital, Amarna. Also, Tutankhamun was one of few kings worshipped as a deity during his lifetime. This was usually done posthumously for most pharaohs. In popular culture today, Tutankhamun is known for the vastly opulent wealth found during the 1922 discovery of his tomb, KV 62, the only such tomb to date to have been found in near intact condition. The discovery of his tomb is widely considered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time. Since then, he has been referred to colloquially as King Tut.